Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. This is the Sports Prophet back once again with the Fellowship of Fans. And I have a question for all of you today. This week, the Supreme Court decided to weigh in on whether or not college athletes should be compensated for their likenesses. And this has been one of the ongoing battles regarding the NCAA, their eligibility rules, and whether or not student athletes should be considered amateur athletes. For so long, the NCAA has benefited from this never ending supply of free labor. There are a lot of people who argue, well, a full scholarship to college is more than enough compensation to come and play sports at a college or university. But then others argue on the other side that the enormous salaries that the top coaches are able to garner are often the highest paid salaries of any state employees for those respective states, if you look at some of the college and or football coaches and programs. So the question at hand is, should these athletes be compensated, or should they at the very least own the rights to their own likenesses? This came up a few years ago when it came to one of the video games, where college athletes were playing the video games and realizing that they were on the game. Their names, their jerseys were on the game. We've seen college athletes who are not allowed to work, who are not allowed to draw any kind of compensation. They end up going past the bookstores and finding their jerseys for sale, and they see none of that money. So the question is a scholarship to a university just compensation for the amount of revenue these student athletes are able to generate for their companies? They take a lot of risk. We saw during this pandemic, in the midst of it, college athletes were back on the field playing sports, even while their fellow students were not allowed on their campuses. They were putting themselves in harm's way to play a sport that was generating millions of dollars for their universities, and of course, providing us with entertainment. But it's different when professionals are doing it and they have a choice, and when you have students who are being asked to take risks that other students are not themselves taking. So should there be compensation? Should athletes be permitted to benefit from their own likeness? If you're a top athlete and somebody's willing to pay you to be in a commercial or pay you to endorse a product, should you be allowed to accept those funds and have that have no bearing on your eligibility as a college athlete? This has been an ongoing, persistent battle. And now that the Supreme Court has kind of weighed in, and of course they didn't make an umbrella judgment on the entire situation, but it brings the conversation back up to us once again. And as we're going to see in the Olympics that come up next month, we're going to see a lot of amateur athletes who make 6 or 7 figures from endorsements. Is that the same thing as a college athlete being regarded as a student or amateur athlete? These are the questions that a lot of top athletes and their families are beginning to ask and wonder because of the huge amounts of revenue that they're bringing into their universities. We know what March Madness means. We know what these bowl games mean. And it's not just those two sports. The track programs, the top baseball programs, top hockey programs bring a lot of funds into colleges and universities. Should the student athletes, the ones who are on the field, on the ice, on the court, putting their bodies in harm's way, taking a lot of risk, and providing most of the entertainment, should they be benefiting from it financially? We've heard both sides of the argument, so I want to find out where the Fellowship of Fans lands. What do you all think? How do you feel about college athletes being either paid a salary, receiving a stipend, or simply being free to enter into the marketing market for themselves and simply allow themselves the opportunity to benefit from their own brands if they have one that's big enough, if they're good enough, if they are marketable? Should they be able to be compensated for that? That's the question today, and the Sports Prophet wants to hear from you. Here in the Fellowship of Fans, we always welcome feedback, comments, conversation, opinions, because we know that the members of this particular fellowship sports is your passion, you care about these things, and you have opinions on them, and we want to hear them. This is not where you come to hear me talk about things. This is where we come to share our thoughts and ideas with each other. That's what the fellowship is all about. And this fellowship is your fellowship. If sports is your religion, then the fellowship is your church. And I am the sports prophet here to lead us in these conversations. So I look forward to hearing from you. Let me know what you think. Should our college athletes be compensated? Should the top athletes be free to benefit from their image or likeness? Should all athletes be free to, and you get what you get on the open market? Or would that ruin college sports? Should the NCAA be the only ones who are able to benefit, the institutions? Should they be the only ones who are able to benefit from college athletics? Let me know what you think. This is the Sports Prophet. I look forward to hearing from you. Have a wonderful day. Let's go.